It's Waxing Lyrical, baby.
Hello, Waxers, and welcome to Waxing Lyrical with Mainz and Dutts. I'm your host, Mainz, and my colleague, sharing an anniversary with me today, it's Mr. Neil Dutton. How are we, Neil?
I haven't got your card, you're not getting a cake.
Your flowers are obviously being delivered as we speak. And for those unaware, today is the 4-year anniversary of the first time we did Waxing Lyrical. Dutton's just listened to it. If you think this is bad, you should go back and listen to the first one.
At least this has something of a natural flow and conversational style, as opposed to that. I'm not going to say scripted, because that would imply there was a degree of organisation. Put it this way, I've been on dates in which the conversation flowed freer.
So basically, we'd known each other for possibly a decade at that point, and we're on a first date.
Without the possibility there was ever a chance one of us or both of us would end up naked at the end of it.
It's true. That only happens when one of us gets drunk. We'll let you.
I am
decide.
naked now, of course. But...
to let you decide which one of that it is. It's week 7, Dutton. We're about to reach back-to-back international series games. This week we're going to ignore it. I know we usually do it, and I know we're in the UK, but you know what? We found 3 games that we actually like better. We've got our hot wax takes. We got Dutton's fantasy darling and fancy loser, and then fancy team of the week, which means he will have to do on the fly, as he's been so busy that he's only done about 50% of it. That may help, given the fact I've been garbage the last few weeks.
My policy, of course, as we say in previous weeks, has been the last person I've picked has been the quarterback. Last week I went against it on behalf of myself to all Pittsburgh Steelers fans. I'm not even sorry.
You're welcome, yeah. You're welcome. We kill Mainz and Dutts fancy team of the week, killing off one player at a time. Fantastic stuff.
Gotta have something to hang your hat on in this crazy world.
You have, Dutton, you have. Do you know what, Dutton? You think it's a crazy world? Let's give the world our hot takes for the week.
Okay.
Dutton, so hit me with the hot takes.
Brock Osweiler will have fewer than 5 fantasy points this week.
Is that because he's rubbish? Or because of the matchup?
That being rubbish played into it, and the fact that I think if any defensive coordinator probably knows him, it's going to be Wade Phillips. So they're going to kill him, and he will stink. He's terrible.
Won a game on Sunday night and did okay in that game for like 1 quarter. But for the rest of it, he was a tyre fire on top of another tyre fire that was in a massive fire.
I remember I read a Star Trek book once, and it said in it, heroes exist when things go wrong. If everything goes right, there's no such thing as a hero. You don't want your quarterback to be the hero. You want him to execute your offense. So if he was good for the first 3 quarters, he wouldn't have to rally in the 4th quarter. He's a terrible, terrible player. The Texans are burning money.
Yes, they are done. This player isn't terrible. Is actually probably, or has been known in the past to be the most talented player in the league, and that is Aaron Rodgers. But you know what you need to do, Dutton? To fix Aaron Rodgers, you need to blow up the Green Bay Packers franchise. They've become that married couple, or that lad who's with the hot girlfriend and now settled. You've got lazy across the board. You've made it easy to do things. You've stopped doing what got you to the dance, so to speak. And the only way you're going to fix that is to get rid of everyone, start again, and put Aaron Rodgers back on the right track in terms of mechanics, in terms of fundamentals, in terms of work ethic.
Aaron Rodgers is 32, 33.
Yeah,
and has now gotten into bad habits. I'm at that age. Is it fixable? I don't know. I'm not, and I don't know enough about coaching fundamentals, but he's got into these habits because, and they helped, but now they're a hindrance. Can you really teach this dog new tricks or just remember the old tricks? I don't know.
What I do, all I know is Dutton, it's not gonna get better with the infrastructure in place at the moment with Thompson and McCarthy because they've allowed this to happen.
Okay.
Hot wax take number 2, Dutton.
In the feud, Jacquizz Rodgers will be a top 10 running back this week.
For people who don't know, who does Jacquizz Rodgers actually play for at the moment?
Jacquizz Rodgers is at the moment the lead running back for those Buccaneers of Tampa Bay, and they are playing the San Francisco 49ers. Welcome, running backs. Come, take what you want. We won't stop you. They've given up, I think it's something like 700 yards in their last 3 games to running backs. This is frightening.
It's almost unheard of, right? Like, as someone who has Doug Martin in his fantasy team, I was revelling in this matchup as it was supposed to be his comeback. However, it now looks like he's not going to play.
I did worry about Doug Martin coming into the season because A, he'd had 2 bad seasons, then a good one. B, he got paid. So I think the Doug Martin that we'd seen be bad was a more consistent player than the Doug Martin who was good. Jacquizz Rodgers got 36 touches last week, rushes and receptions, and they won. So I think that Dirk Cotter's decided. Dirk Cotter is this quite chameleonic coach in that he will literally use the players he has. He's not wedded to one way of doing things. If he's got a good rushing attack, he'll ride it. If he's got a good passing attack, he'll ride it. I think he's coming to the conclusion that Jameis Winston isn't ready to be the franchise and the offense yet. So he's going to try and use the other pieces, especially with Vincent Jackson going to IR. They don't really have another receiver after Mike Evans. They obviously got rid of Austin Seferian-Jenkins. So they thought, well, we played against the Carolina Panthers, who are supposed to be quite good, pounded the rock and won. We're now playing the San Francisco 49ers, who stink. Let's pound the rock.
Did you just make a word up? Chameleonic?
Chameleonic, yeah. I don't know if that is a word. If it is, then I'm happy to use it. If not, I'm happy to claim credit for it.
You think that I have a feud with Mike McCarthy and Ted Thompson? I'm going to tell you right now.
I don't think. I know.
I'm going to tell you right now, they should have a new job. They should be in charge of the Indianapolis Colts. Because they would fix that franchise. They would understand that they've been fired by Green Bay and need to do things differently. They would have a superstar quarterback and would actually be able to draft, unlike that buffoon who they've got at the moment.
There are cardboard boxes in my kitchen at the moment. We got a guinea pig this week, so we've got the carry case for that. So I would rather trust that to run my draft board than Ryan Grigson.
He is.
In fact, I'd rather trust the guinea pig.
He is ungood, Dutton. Ungood.
Well, it doesn't say he won Executive of the Year for saying Andrew Luck. I could have said that.
I could have say I could do that. Let me do that. You know what I mean? It's not really difficult, right? Yeah, I see that again. Another franchise that needs blowing up. But I see McCarthy and Thompson as a good fit in there. It will never happen. It's a hot take. We make them up. We do them because we find them fun, not because we actually necessarily believe they're going to happen. What's next, Dutton?
Antonio Brown will be no more than a wide receiver 3 this week at best. Now, in case anyone is struggling, what that means he won't be higher than wide receiver 36 to 25.
Can we just all? I've just got a drink, Dutton. I'm just going to pour out a little bit for Antonio Brown and the Pittsburgh Steelers season without Ben Roethlisberger. That is sad times. That was a Super Bowl team an hour and a half ago.
But the problem is that, like the Dallas Cowboys last season, the most important, you're as strong in the NFL as your backup quarterback. It's becoming that way. The Dallas Cowboys found that last season. JJ Zachariason has pointed this out, and I am fully on board with this. Yes, Zeke Elliott is running the ball very well. He is helping that offense win. He's helping that team win. They were running the ball very well last season, but they had ineptitude at the quarterback position. This year they haven't. That is why Dak Prescott is a more impressive rookie than Zeke Elliott. because they could still run the ball last year. It was the fact that they couldn't not throw interceptions. So if you don't have a backup quarterback and things happen... Ben Roethlisberger doesn't play 16 games. It doesn't happen. They know it doesn't. But last year they went, we'll have the rotting corpse of Michael Vick. Oh, he's hurt as well. We'll have Landry. Is he actually a quarterback, Jones? No. This team hasn't had adequate backup quarterback play since Charlie Batch, for God's sake. It can't just be ignored, especially when you've got John Wayne at quarterback. So it's as I say, they're going to, it's good news for Le'Veon Bell from a volume point of view. Yeah, but if I know it's good news for Le'Veon Bell from a volume point of view, do you not think Bill Belichick might know this? And he might say, well, I'm taking him away. Over to you, Landry.
There's multiple ways to build a franchise, and what usually happens is, with most of them, you build it through the draft, then you have to pay those draft players, and then you start to cut corners. Cut corners in positions like backup quarterback, fifth corner, stuff like that. That's how this happens, and that's how you get into a position where you've had Landry Jones, the rotting corpse of Michael Vick, Bruce Gradkowski. These players are ungood. Do you know what I mean? This is how this happens. Dutton. Big Yellow Taxi, Joni Mitchell. You know the song? You don't know what you've got till it's gone. Andy Reid is 16-2 after a bye, and it's a top 5 offensive mind in the league. Ignore the time management garbage. 27 teams would die to have Andy Reid as their head coach, and one of them got absolutely bullied by the Washington semi-professional football team last week.
Do you have a point?
I don't. I was going to set up Joni Mitchell. You don't know what you've got till it's gone, but I think it will be the sound as we finish the show. We don't know what you got till it's gone.
And we've just lost half of our listeners. We're down to 3.
We had 6. That's awesome.
I listen as well, so...
No, I don't. You got nothing to say either on my you're wearing John Riggins top in less than 10 days / Andy Reid is an offensive genius. You got the fattest man ever to score a touchdown, which, by the way, was a flipping throw.
Believe me, I've lost 4 points in 3 fantasy leagues because of that decision. You can he is behind Dontari Poe. His arm is not. So it was a lateral. So Andy Reid is an offensive genius. He brought up in the West Coast system. The Eagles teams. Let's just think about some of the players Andy Reid got to the NFC Championship game with the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm just going to name some pantheons of football, some Canton-bound superstars. Todd Pinkston, James Thrash, Freddie Mitchell, J.R. Reid, Corell Buckhalter, Dorsey Levens, Kevin Curtis. These players who came into Philadelphia were productive to an extent, and the Eagles kept winning. Then when he got Terrell Owens, they got to the Super Bowl. He has made chicken soup out of chicken shit from so many people over the years. It shouldn't be a surprise. And
it's not a surprise, but I think people just see fat fella can't tell the difference between a timeout and a 2-minute warning. And just laugh at him. Struggles in certain playoff games in big situations. Yeah, but he's consistently in the playoffs year in, year out, with, as you said, at best mediocre talent. Yeah,
he's a wonderful coach. It was just it just got a bit old in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I know.
And hopefully, the Eagles have shown a great degree of loyalty to people who buy into their way. Well, I think they know Doug Peterson is their guy. The worry is, I say that Washington's game plan was fantastic. If the Eagles' offense isn't on the field, they can't score. It was just then, obviously, there was a couple of occasions where the Eagles' offense wasn't on the field and they did score, that the game looked closer than it was. But the Eagles didn't play well. Am I worried? No, I didn't really have that high expectations for this team going into the season. It was just that after beating Pittsburgh, the worst thing that could have happened to the Eagles was a bye.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. What's the next hot take?
Ryan Tannehill will get sacked 10 or more times this week.
Buffalo?
Yeah.
That's going to be pain.
Buffalo, the defensively, I mean, the wagon circling job that Rex Ryan has done since week 2 has been nothing short of phenomenal. The defense has been fast and nasty, which is how Rex wants it to do it. The offense has been functional, and they've done pretty much what we all thought they wanted to do anyway, just pound the rock. And Miami, congratulations, yet another team that the Pittsburgh Steelers have played down to. Don't get it twisted, Miami. You suck. This is going to be an absolute annihilation.
Mike Tomlin, against teams under 500, has a less than 300 winning percentage as the Pittsburgh Steelers coach. That's 2-time Super Bowl winning coach Mike Tomlin, who's been to the playoffs multiple times, has a below 500 record against teams that basically pick in the top 4 the next year. That is unbelievable and solely on his head.
Yeah, that's a coaching. When you come and play these players and you're better than them, if you aren't executing, you have not been prepared adequately to face this team. That starts and ends with him.
Absolutely.
And this is why, they've lost 2 games this season where they've been annihilated by the Eagles and by the Dolphins. That's the difference between a first-round bye and having to play on wildcard weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Final one from me, Dutton, is for people who don't think you need a quarterback to win, see how the Jets are getting on. If you haven't got a quarterback, there is a minute possibility that you will win games. If you have one who throws a bajillion interceptions, you have zero chance.
The early 21st century, the Trent Dilfer Ravens, the Brad Johnson Vikings, those days are gone.
Bucks and Vikings, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, those days are gone. You're not going to win the Super Bowl with that shocking level of quarterback. Yeah, someone said the Denver Broncos last year. Yeah, I know he wasn't playing very well, but it's still Peyton Manning, for God's sake, So, no, those days are gone. And this is why, people, I mean, we joked about this a few years ago. If Alex Smith hit the open market tomorrow, he would be out of work for about 5 minutes.
Oh, God, absolutely.
Jay Cutler will get a new club within 5 minutes of being released in February or March, whenever it is.
People laugh at Kirk Cousins, who, by the way, is 8-2 in his last 10 games. He's not great, throws bad interceptions, not anywhere near the level of Fitzpatrick. How many do you think the Jets take him right now?
Absolutely.
Not even
and would
half.
pay it through the nose.
Absolutely done. They're the hot takes. Let's just get straight on with it. On games of the week.
The games of the week.
Touchdown, 85 yards. He's going to score. He's going to score. He's going to score. Touchdown.
So behind the curtain, I usually text Dutton Tuesday and say these are the games we're going to do. I gave him 3 games. He agreed. None of them were the London game, and I'm not even sorry. I don't want to talk about the Rams and the Giants. Although question for you, Dutton, Twickenham or HQ?
Twickers.
Is that because it really annoys rugby people because it's like what posh people call it?
Yeah.
Because I saw some fella on Twitter say to Chris Westling, Chris, you should call it Twickers. That'll impress all the British people. I felt like saying, no, that'll make you a pretentious prick.
Yeah, Twickers.
It won't make you popular. It'll make you sound like you went to Eton.
Yeah, Lords is HQ.
Thank you, Neil. Our first game is Chargers at Falcons, Dutton. So straight off with it, after the performance against Seattle, are Matty Ice and the Centaur matchup proof all season?
Yeah. The last 3 games they've faced the 2 Super Bowl teams of last year and the only team to be to lead scoring defense for 4 consecutive years in NFL history. They've won 2 of those games, and but for a shocking refereeing decision, would have won the 3rd. I don't know what Kyle Shanahan has done other than say he will not be in Atlanta next year. He will have a head coaching job, finally, because this offense is absolutely fantastic.
It is awesome, right? And like Mohamed Sanu, everyone was like, "Oh, look, he hasn't really done anything. He's been a guy."
It's players who are already there. I mean, Julio Jones had 200 targets last year and 136 receptions. He's on pace for 136 targets and only 82 receptions this year. But he's on pace for 1,749 receiving yards because he is averaging 21 yards per reception this year. That is ludicrous.
Just let that settle into your head. For all the teams, like myself, like Neil's team, who very rarely throw more than 5 yards before the player has to run. 21 yards a catch, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, and bear in mind as well, he's had two games this season where he's been under 30 receiving yards. When he goes big, he goes big. Matt Ryan, I think his yards per completion has gone up from 11 last year to 15 this year. And he was averaging 280 passing yards a game last season. He's at 340 this year.
That's good. One place he did struggle last week, Dutton, was to run the ball against the Seattle. Not unusual. They're playing the Chargers this week, and the Chargers only allow 83 yards a game. Does that mean that fantasy fans should be avoiding Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman this week?
No, because they're both part of the passing game. I think Freeman has 17 receptions on the season. Coleman has 18. Coleman's got 200-yard receiving games this season. So they're both. I think Freeman has 15 rushing attempts a game. Coleman has, I think, just over 8. So they'll use them in the rushing game. If they see it's not working, they'll go both backs on the field, and one of them will be a receiver and one of them will be a blocker. They will mix it up, mix it in. They're both standalone players. That, again, moving forward, until I'm shown otherwise, if you've got them, start them.
Question on the Chargers, Dutton. Is Hunter Henry a thing?
Hunter Henry, as I wrote for Fantasy Pros this week, is the 15th highest scoring rookie tight end since 2010. The season is 6 games old, and he is the 15th highest scoring fantasy rookie tight end. Obviously, he's been helped. He's fallen into a perfect situation, and that Antonio Gates is, Father Time's got him on the ropes, and the corner's reaching for the towel. Can't get healthy, can't stay healthy. Henry's on the field more. I think he's got 2 red zone touchdowns from 6 targets, 310 receiving yards. He is a thing. He is part of this offense. They've got, Travis Benjamin, we know, is a deep threat. Tyrell Williams is a deep threat. Dontrell Inman hasn't really done anything. Hunter Henry owns the middle of the field and keeps getting fed. In his last 4 games, he's got 72 yards and or a touchdown in each of them. He's getting the opportunities and he's cashing in.
Chargers at Falcons, Dutton. Over-under is 53.5. Who you got, and you're going over or under?
I'm taking the Falcons, and I am going to go over. Although this is another one of those situations that, both these teams could be 5-1. But for a few bounces of the ball here and there. They could also, you look and think, you could probably be a bit worse than that. It's going to be high scoring. So I will take the over. I will take the Falcons to win and pretty much seize control of this division.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Falcons in the over. Not that I don't think the Chargers are good, but I like what Atlanta are doing, especially on offense. And I don't know how you bet against Matty Ice in the Centaur. Although, if San Diego win, I'll probably say the same thing about Phillip Rivers. Next game, Dutton. Popular demand. People have asked for it. They want us to talk Patriots. When I say people, it's Patriots at Steelers. The over-under is 47. I guess the question, has the Big Ben injury killed all fantasy value for every single Steeler?
It hasn't killed it for Le'Veon Bell. It has merely led to a tempering of expectations. Antonio Brown has never caught a regular season touchdown pass from any quarterback not named Ben Roethlisberger. Sammy Coates is, has a 40-yard play in him every week from Ben Roethlisberger. Jesse James is a decent red zone weapon for Ben Roethlisberger. This team is going to live and die by. It's as you say, Bill Belichick is the master of what's your favourite, what's your best thing. I'm going to take it away from you. Beat me with what your second choice is. Landry Jones is not good enough to beat a Bill Belichick team if he has to throw the ball 40, 50 times. So Lev Bell, especially in PPR formats, is still going to be a guy. You're not going to not start him. But Antonio Brown his value is falling. This is a buy. This is a sell. Sell for what you can get for him, and certainly buy him if you can, because it might get better when Ben returns. But we don't know when that is.
Obviously, Tom Brady's been back 2 weeks. We spent a lot of time focusing on the passing game, and obviously Tom Brady. Should fantasy fans be paying more attention to what LeGarrette Blount and James White have been doing in the running game?
Absolutely. I mean, LeGarrette Blount is still going to be the short yardage goal line situation, because the Patriots don't historically. Gronkowski isn't the biggest red zone weapon. He gets an awful lot of his touchdowns from 20 yards out when he can demolish 5 or 6 players. In the red zone, they do like to use Blount. James White has seen his snaps rise exponentially since Brady came back in, because obviously they've thrown more. White is a much better. He's a receiving back. No one's talked about Deion Lewis because James White's been that efficient since Brady came back. So I've got White in a number of teams this week because they're not going to run the ball 30, 40 times with Tom Brady at quarterback, but they'll keep them both involved enough. And don't forget, I think Blount may have some kind of grudge against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Did Le'Veon Bell never pay him for that weed?
No.
Oh, I see.
Terrible.
Dutton, I know Martellus Bennett's questionable at the moment, but we've talked about this before, and I'm just interested really. Should, in a daily fantasy lineup, should we be looking to attempt to put both New England Patriots tight ends into a lineup?
No. I mean, I don't. I have on occasion put 2 wide receivers from the same team in if they're going to pass the ball a lot, but I just think it's too volatile to put 2 tight ends in, because other than that golden year where we had Gronkowski who destroys defenders and Aaron Hernandez who destroys lives, it's not really often that both tight ends can produce consistently. It's not a situation I would advocate going with 2 tight ends on the same team, as good as they are. Ultimately, you're better off, picking one of them and then realising you were wrong and you should have picked the other one.
Patriots at Steelers, over-unders 47, Dutton.
I'm taking the Patriots, and I will take the over.
See, this is interesting for me, because I'm going to take the Patriots as well, but I'm going to take the under if we're going to do a match game, because I can see it being something like 31-10, because I'm not 100% sure how Pittsburgh score right now after watching them last year under Jim. May have changed, so I'm seeing like Patriots their side of the bar can get you 30 odds, but I'm not sure Steelers are going to get enough.
I can see that happening, especially if, I mean, this isn't a let's knock this team, let's batter this team and knock them out the playoffs. The way they have to be looking at this team with Landry Jones at quarterback is, let's just do the job. They might just decide to get a lead and then start feeding Blunt.
Exactly, Dutton. Exactly. Final game from us is Hawks at Cards, and the over-under is 43.5. As it's not a high number, but I didn't want to do Rams at Giants, and this is the next in game. Real question is, the offense of the Arizona Cardinals is basically now 82.5% David Johnson, but he's coming up against the Seattle Seahawks. What should we expect from David Johnson this week?
We expect plenty of opportunity, because he's running the ball as well as any running back in the game at the moment. He's scoring lots of touchdowns. He's still chipping in with the passing game, which he has to, because quite frankly the passing game is a joke. Larry Fitzgerald he's doing his bit. John Brown is flitting in and out of games. Michael Floyd, forget it. It's done. I saw someone say, they were asking the Bleeding Green Nation podcast, should the Eagles trade for Michael Floyd? What for? We've got inefficient receivers ourselves, thanks. We've got players who can catch the ball and then do bugger all, thanks. We're good. He can't even catch the ball. He caught 100% of his targets last week. Congratulations. You had 2. He sucks. He has been awful this year. John Brown, he's getting the targets, but he's not doing anything with them. It's like, for God's sake, John, just break a run, score a bleeding touchdown. It'd be lovely. David Johnson, they're going to shut him down. So it's a question of how much do you keep riding them, because they're going to have to, because Carson Palmer's record against the Seahawks is bloody awful.
On that, you mentioned Larry Fitzgerald. So far, he's got 5 touchdowns, which is obviously excellent for fantasy fans. Is that an outlier, or should we expect it to happen the rest of the season, although we may not expect it to happen this week?
I think we're going to have to, because he's the only Cardinals wide receiver who actually looks like consistently being a threat, especially when they get down as the red zone. The good thing is about Larry Fitzgerald this week is Larry Fitz obviously plays a lot more in the slot these days. Sherman is not going to go near him. Sherman will stay outside, so he'll have John Brown, Michael Floyd. So he will avoid that. So if they do get into the red zone, they are going to look Fitz's way. And, essentially he's a tight end. The Seahawks have been better this year against tight ends, but historically have struggled. And that's something that Cam Chancellor does contribute to. I know he missed last week, but he has been culpable when tight ends have burnt them in the past. So Fitz is always, I think, reports of his death have been greatly exaggerated. He said it was probably going to retire. Palmer will look for him, so he's got the touchdown upside. He could flirt with double-digit touchdowns this year, especially if the others don't even look. They're allergic to the paint.
On the Seattle side, Matt franchise coach, Chris Wessling, they brought us the awakening. Christian Michael Seawoke. I haven't really spoke to you about this. Is this awakening real? Is Christian Michael something you should be looking at to get in your daily fantasy team all the time?
Yeah, I think so, because we know that the Seahawks are at their best when they are running the ball. For such a poor offensive line, they do run block a lot better than they pass block, which is when they let Russell Wilson essentially just, you look after yourself, Sunbeam, we're good. Michael, the light bulb seems to have come on. I mean, getting cut by Dallas and Washington last year might do that for a person. So, yeah, even when Rawls was healthy-ish, Michael looked better. But against another, he's gone up against a tough defence, but we do know that the Seahawks won't shy away from the ground game. So, again, he's going to get opportunity. He'll get, some red zone work. He might lose some targets to CJ Spiller. And I know he lost a red zone touchdown to Alex Collins last week. I thought Alex Collins wrote, Chicklet or things like that. But anyway, he's still going to get the bulk of the, the rushing work. So, yeah. Until otherwise, you shouldn't discount Christian Michael. Although your name's Christine, and you named your son Christine because he's got Michael Senior on his jersey. Grow up, mate.
Seattle, Arizona, over-unders 43.5. What you got done?
I'm going to take the Seahawks and the under, which, by the way, I'd just like to point out, my Seahawks-Patriots Super Bowl bet is looking better and better with each passing week.
I think I may have picked Arizona-Pittsburgh, although I can't quite remember. So I'm going to move swiftly on and say Seahawks in the under as well. Speaking of moving swiftly on, Dutton, let's get your fancy darling of the week.
Hello, darling.
Who is it, Dutton?
Well, I did think about making it Hunter Henry, but I didn't want to make it look that I've got too big a man crush on him. So I'm going to say Marcus Mariota, because he's being allowed to run. He's being allowed basically to be part of, Exotic Smash, Mouth. So, he's actually being allowed to be the focal point. He's had 7 rushing attempts in each of his last 2 games and has 60 or more rushing yards in both. And also he's thrown 6 passing touchdowns in those 2 games. I know they weren't playing the best teams. He's still got to do it. He's playing the Indianapolis Colts. They're a sieve. He could go absolutely bananas this week.
Marcus Mariota's the darling. Let's find out who the loser is.
It's Antonio Brown. Just like the joke, Batman needs the Joker. Antonio Brown needs Big Ben, and he's not here.
No, I don't think we need. It's just sad, Dutton. I think again we've already spoke about it, so let's just move on and let's get on to our daily fantasy team of the week.
Mainz and Dutts, daily fantasy team of the week.
Show me the money.
Dutton, who's your quarterback?
For $6,000, Marcus Mariota.
Nice, Dutton, nice. And you know what? He's also mine. He actually no, he's not mine. So why is Marcus Mariota yours? Sorry, he's not mine. I'm reading yours again.
Yeah, well, I've just said, he's playing the Colts. The Colts positively welcome quarterbacks to score fancy points against them. So, yeah, I'll go with this. And, of course, he wasn't the most expensive, so I was able to load up elsewhere.
Yeah, I also spent $6,000 on my quarterback, and I went with Andy Dalton. He's playing the Cleveland Browns this week. He hasn't been very good, but that means my fancy team has died because AJ Green hasn't been very good. I'm expecting a breakout this week at home. Dalton, who's your running back one?
Jaquiz Rodgers, 4,300.
I also had Jaquiz Rodgers, 4,300. As you said, they're playing Tampa Bay are playing San Francisco, and San Francisco are truly garbage on rush defense. Running back 2, Neil.
Spencer Ware, 5,800. Jamal Charles is back. We know this. They're so confident that he's back to something like his best. They sent Niall Davis to the Green Bay Packers for a ham sandwich. But Spencer Ware has been that good. They don't have to throw Charles in. They can sprinkle him back into the offense, as Brad Childress said. Spencer Ware had 24 rushing attempts last week and 130 rushing yards. He's not just going to go away. And he's playing the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints have given up 10 rushing touchdowns to running backs this season. That will go up to about 12 by the end of the game. But I'm not saying Ware gets both of them.
My running back 2 is DeMarco Murray. He's playing the Indianapolis Colts. They're a sieve. As you've been saying about Marcus Mariota playing well, so is DeMarco Murray. Big surprise. I know he's Neil's friend. Neil will never pick him in his daily fantasy team. I don't care. 7,200. DeMarco Murray's my running back 2. Neil, who's wide receiver 1?
$8,600. AJ Green. He's playing the Browns. That's all I'm going to say.
I've spent 9,200 on the Centaur, Julio Jones. He's playing San Diego, and he's fantasy proof at the moment, so he's in immediately. Wide receiver 2, Neil.
$7,300 playing the benevolent Oakland Raiders secondary. I've gone for Allen Robinson because it's time to start coming to the party, Rob?
I also have Allen Robinson at 7,200 in the same thing of whenever you're ready, Alan, I'm ready. So we're both ready for week 7. Wide receiver 3, Neil.
$3,700. I'm stacking him with Marcus Mariota, Kendall Wright.
Talk me through Kendall Wright. How we got here?
Well, Kendall Wright has been injured, so that they've trotted out. The Canton-bound Tajay Sharp, possibly one of the most disappointing rookie wide receivers we've seen in many a year. Andre Johnson, just pack it in. Harry Douglas, go away. And you look at some of the receivers that have left Tennessee. Dorial Green-Beckham hasn't done anything yet. Justin Hunter is actually a thing. That's hilarious. Kendall Wright had a good link-up with Marcus Mariota last season, but then both of them kept getting hurt. So there's no reason for me. The targets are there. The chemistry's there. He's going to get chances. And he's cheap.
I've done something that I don't usually do, but I'm going to give you a reason why. Case Keenum last week, 27 of 32, 321 yards, 3 touchdowns. My wide receiver 3 is Jamison Crowder of the Washington semi-professional football team. If Case Keenum can do that, I would expect Kirk Cousins to be at least half decent. His main go-to guy in said situations will probably be Jamison Crowder. I expect lots of attempts to get him the ball as much as possible, and I'm hoping for a lot of yards and touchdown. And hopefully Washington going to 5-2.
I feel I was a couple of weeks ahead of myself with Jamison Crowder because I was quite big on him a few weeks ago, and then he was quiet, but he seems to be coming back to me, as it were. So I'm still claiming that as a win.
Tight end, Dutton.
Hunter Henry.
I've gone for Hunter Henry as well. He's so pretty, and he's also pretty good. Yeah,
and he's playing the Falcons, who they can't defend. Defend tight ends. I think that I did actually mention this to friend Fran Duffy. Teams that play predominantly cover 3, there's a weakness against tight ends because the Falcons have got it. The Falcons obviously defense is modelled on the Seahawks. They struggle with it, and I think it's because literally playing that one high safety and then having the zones, the seams are wide open. If you can, if your safety is being a little bit over aggressive, so there might be something in that. I'll have to dedicate some serious research time to it.
I'll answer 31st against tight ends. Dutton, who's your flex?
Amari Cooper, he's playing the Jags. They've been very benevolent to wide receivers as well. And this game's probably going to be a shootout.
I've gone with... how much is Amari Cooper done?
Oh, sorry, 7,900.
That's a serious flex. I've gone for LeGarrette Blount. He's playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. He will get all the goal line carries. They have previous. That's pretty much it. And Dutton, who's your defence?
I don't care if it's Fitzpatrick or Geno Smith. The Jets quarterback will throw interceptions. I'm taking the Baltimore Ravens at 2,800.
I've also gone with the Baltimore Ravens at 2,800. This is what you'll notice is that Dutton is obviously the professional. I am the amateur. But a lot of the times it's pretty obvious that certain things are going to happen and there's a reason why we pick certain players at the same time.
Yeah, it's a question of, don't overthink this. There's no point spending, $10,000 on the Seahawks defense. It was like, yeah, we know they're good, but look who these are playing. Exactly,
Dutton. So let's quickly recap, Dutton. Who's your quarterback?
Marcus Mariota.
I've gone for Andy Dalton. Running back 1.
Quiz Rogers.
Me too. Running back 2.
Spencer Ware.
I've gone with DeMarco Murray. Who's your wide receiver 1?
AJ Green.
I've gone for Julio the Centaur Jones. Wide receiver 2.
A-Rob.
I've also gone for A-Rob. Wide receiver 3.
Kendall Wright.
I've gone for Jamison Crowder. Tight end.
Tight end is Hunter Henry.
I've gone for Hunter Henry as well. Flex.
Amari Cooper.
I've got LeGarrette Blount. And the defence.
Baltimore Ravens.
Because they're playing the Jets and the Jets flat out stink.
Yeah. I've only got one NFC player in my team, I've just realised. That's Rogers. Quiz Rogers. Fascinating, that, isn't it? Yeah. Tell your friends.
Tell you what, that was super boring. That was what will be known in our group as a boring Kale.
I've bored myself with that.
Dutton, before we go, just want to tell everyone, I'm at Mainzy7, Neil is at Dutton13. We are combined at waxing_lyrical. Usually do a lot of tweeting on Sundays during game time, especially the early games. We will tweet out our teams of the week on Saturday as well. Please get your friends involved, share the podcast, get us iTunes / Waxing Lyrical with Mainz and Dutts. Go to Spreaker, Waxing Lyrical with Mainz and Dutts. We'll tweet it out as much as possible. We hope you enjoy it and we love doing it.
Yeah, it's been 4 years. We've got nothing better to do. We might as well keep going.
Exactly, Dutton. This has been Waxing Lyrical. Get used to it.